You're listening to Station 104.9. It's almost midnight here on the East Coast. This is Daniel Gray. I'm still here. The station's running on backup power. We've got enough for one more night of broadcast unless the diesel holds. I've got no confirmation from the relay towers out west. No word from Denver. Chicago's gone dark. Seattle's been silent for days now. I don't know who's left listening, but I'm going to keep talking until I can't. If you're still out there, you're not alone. Earlier tonight, we picked up a weak signal from a ham relay near Lake Huron. A man calling himself Mason. He didn't speak long. His voice was shaking, and there was a long pause before every word, like he had to force each one out. He said they were surrounded, that they had lost the southern perimeter 2 days ago. He said they had kids with them, that the firewood was wet, that the radio was the only thing keeping them sane. Then it cut off. I hope you made it through the night, Mason. If you hear this, try again on frequency 7160. I'll keep it clear. It's been 48 hours since the evacuation order was given for the Eastern Corridor. Most people didn't get out. The highways jammed with cars, some still with headlights on, engines long dead. I saw one family yesterday, parked under the overpass near exit 42. The father was walking in slow circles around the van, holding a tire iron, just walking, over and over. I didn't stop. I don't stop anymore. There's too much risk now, and not enough time. The last weather sweep we got showed the cold front stalling in the Midwest. That means freezing rain for parts of Ohio, maybe Pennsylvania if it keeps drifting. If you're listening from those areas, find shelter now. The wind chill will kill you before anything else does. We're getting more reports of coordination. I can't verify all of them, but some come from sources I used to trust. It started small, patterns in how they moved, clusters forming near water towers, grain silos, food depots, places with value. At first, we thought it was coincidence. Then we saw them build. Yes, building not like we do, but with purpose. They stack things, bodies, crates, metal. I don't know what for. Maybe shelter, maybe signals. I don't want to think about it. I know this sounds impossible. I used to say the same thing. Then I watched them take down an outpost in less than 3 minutes. 50 people, armed, gone, no screams, just static. If you're still armed, keep your ammo dry and your fire tight. Don't waste shots. Don't attract attention. Don't try to be a hero. Heroes died in the first month. We've gotten a few messages scratched into old road signs, walls, and billboards, painted in red, black, sometimes charcoal. Some say, north is clear. Others say, don't trust the roads. But there's one that keeps showing up. In every state we've heard from, they see in silence. I don't know what that means yet, but if you do, if you've seen something we haven't, call in. Channels open, signals unstable, but we'll keep trying. There's a kid staying 2 blocks from the station. I don't know his name. He leaves me notes, slips them under the old supply door. Never seen him, just the notes. They're written in pencil on scraps of cereal boxes and receipts. He told me he's been alone for 33 days. Said his mother didn't come back from the pharmacy run. He keeps a radio tuned to this frequency by his bed. That's what he wrote. I haven't heard from him in 2 nights now. If you're still listening, kid, keep going. You're doing better than most adults I know. You're doing better than me. To those who still have power, charge your radios, power banks, anything you can. Don't rely on the grid. That's going down fast. The big stations have already gone silent. Only the low band and ham operators are holding this thing together now. And barely. Someone from Nevada sent a burst message saying the desert towns are starting to hold out longer. Dry climate helps. Slower movement. Better sight lines. But they're still surrounded. They said something about an airstrip being converted into a safe zone. No coordinates. No name. If you've got aviation fuel or even a working glider, that might be your best shot. But it's a long one. Real long. Someone else sent a voice log from Baton Rouge. They're tracking moon cycles, trying to figure out if the creatures are more active based on the lunar pull. It sounds crazy, but right now, nothing is off the table. They say full moon nights are worse, the attacks more organized, as if something in the light sharpens them. Take it how you want. But maybe it explains why last night felt so wrong. I haven't slept since Tuesday. Not because I'm scared. I got past that stage. It's the quiet. It's so deep it eats into your thoughts, makes you feel like your mind is too loud for the air around you. Even the infected, even they don't make as much noise anymore. Not like before. Now it's whispers, not real ones, but enough to make you check every dark corner twice. Still here. The generator's humming low, but it's hanging on. It's just after 2 a.m. here in what's left of Virginia. Skies pitch black, no stars tonight. Clouds are thick, low, and mean. You can feel the weight of them pressing down like the whole sky's about to fall. I haven't seen a plane in over a week. Not even a drone. The sky's been empty, like the birds gave up first. The roads are colder now. You notice it when you drive. Not in the temperature, in the silence. It used to be you'd catch a deer or maybe some dogs running wild. Now, nothing. Just long stretches of cracked pavement, wind pushing plastic bags down the lines like they're the last things alive. Got a note earlier from a group out of Omaha. They've holed up inside an old school gymnasium, reinforced the exits with overturned lockers and scrap steel. Say there's about 20 of them left. No kids, just fighters. They're burning books to keep warm, not because they want to, but because they have to. One of them was a teacher. Said the irony makes him sick every time he throws another math book into the fire. He said they had to make a rule. No crying. Said the sound travels. It's not the infected that get to you. Not really. It's what's left of the people you used to know. The faces that still have names behind them. You see someone you worked with in a grocery store. Only now they're on all fours, crawling through broken glass like it doesn't even hurt. And you have to look away. Because if you don't, you won't shoot. And if you don't shoot, you die. Got a few updates from what's left of the Rocky Mountain relay chain. Just a whisper of a voice coming through. Female, maybe mid-30s. Might be military. She kept repeating a phrase. Firewalkers held the pass. Over and over. Firewalkers. We don't know what that means yet, but if it's a code name for a group or squad, and they're holding a pass out west, maybe there's a route still open. If you're near I-70, anywhere near Colorado Springs or west of it, get eyes on the passes. But be careful. Some of them are being baited. They're setting traps now. That's not paranoia talking. We've seen it. Cars placed just right to look like they broke down, but nothing inside. Blood trails staged like a movie set. You go to help, and you don't come back. To the guy who called in from Fargo yesterday, I still remember your voice. You said you couldn't take your dog with you when you left. You said she kept barking and gave away your spot too many times. You said you tied her leash to the garage so she couldn't follow. I want to tell you you did the right thing, but I can't. I don't know anymore. I've stopped judging anyone for what they've done to survive. Everyone's lost something. Some people lost everything. But the worst off? They're the ones who still remember it all. The way it used to smell after rain, the noise of traffic, kids on bikes, laughter in places that aren't dreams. Now we walk like ghosts through memories. And sometimes, just sometimes, the echoes feel more real than the world outside. Someone scratched a message on the side of a propane tank behind this station. North is a lie. I've seen the same message in 3 other places: a rest stop in Maryland, a train station wall outside Harrisburg, a broken windshield near a rail yard in Cleveland. We don't know who's writing it, but they want us to doubt, to stay still, to rot in place. Don't. Even if it's a trap, movement is life. Static means death. A woman from northern Maine managed to send out a paper note by pigeon. I'm not joking. It was wrapped in foil inside a cigarette box. It took 6 days to get here. The bird landed on a signal tower. One of our watchers saw it. The note said they'd formed a circle. 10 people, all armed, all trained, said they've cleared 5 blocks and lit fires every night. They call it Emberfield now. She wrote, "We stopped running. The fire's still ours." I pinned that note on the wall, right next to the old playlist from the station's heyday. There's dust on the tracks now. Songs we haven't played in months. Nobody's asking for music anymore. They're just asking for time. As long as this mic works, I'll give them whatever I can. Earlier tonight, I caught a signal bounce from an offshore barge. At least, that's what it sounded like. Long, drawn-out tones like sonar pings. Then a man's voice, faint and low. Echo grid compromised. Coordinates reset. Relay when safe. It looped for 30 seconds, then silence. The ocean isn't safe either. Some say the infected don't need to breathe, that they walk under the water, that they just keep moving until they hit land. I don't know. I've seen stranger things. All I know is this: if you've got a boat, make sure it runs quiet. No engine noise. Paddle if you have to. Drift. But whatever you do, don't anchor near shore, and don't light a fire. They're drawn to warmth. They're drawn to us. I got a message written in ash on the front window of the diner across the street. Just one word. Soon. If anyone in the area wrote that, if you hear me, knock twice at the back delivery door before sunrise. I'm watching. I'll leave the light on as long as I can. We're about out of batteries, but we're not out of breath. Not yet. The wind's picked up again. Hard to tell if it's natural anymore. Some nights the wind moves like it's watching you. There's a rhythm to it. Stops and starts that don't match the trees or the air, like something else is breathing through the landscape. I know how that sounds. But if you've been out there, if you've walked the back roads with no headlights, ears open to the dark, you've felt it too. The world has changed, and not just in the obvious ways. There's something under it now, like the old skin of the world is peeling, and what's underneath was always there, waiting. Last night, the radio picked up an AM signal from what used to be Nebraska. The voice was quiet, almost a whisper. A girl. She said her name was Brenna. Maybe 10, maybe 12. She spoke for 24 seconds, and in that time, I heard more strength than I've heard from grown men in full armor. She said, "We don't go near the river anymore. That's where the quiet ones live. They wait in the water, and they don't blink. They just float. Then the line dropped. I haven't heard her since. If you're out there, Brenna, hold on. Keep the signal going. Somebody's always listening. A man stopped by this morning. Or maybe it was yesterday. It's hard to tell now. His name was Daryl. Had the look of someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Skin pulled tight across his face, a shotgun slung low across his chest, and a long scratch down the left side of his neck that looked like it had scabbed over 3 or 4 times. He didn't say much, just wanted water and to charge his radio. Said he was heading west, toward what's left of Indiana. He said he heard rumors of an old National Guard depot there, still intact, with fuel and food and fences that hadn't fallen. I didn't ask why he was alone. You don't ask that anymore. Everyone has a reason, and most of them are too heavy to carry twice. He left before sunset. Didn't look back. Before he left, though, he said something I haven't been able to forget. He said, "They're getting smarter. I saw one wait. Just wait. Not moving. Not moaning. Just standing still like it knew we'd come. Like it was planning." I believe him. And that's the part that scares me most. They're not just wandering anymore. Not all of them. Some are learning. And if they can learn, they can plan. And if they can plan, God help us all. I checked the old gas station 2 blocks down this afternoon. Used to be a Texaco. Now it's mostly shattered glass and rust. But the back freezer still had some cans of peaches. Dusty, dented, but sealed. I brought them back here. Saved one for myself and left the rest on the bench out front with a sign. If you need it, take it. I know that sounds foolish. But if we stop helping each other, then we're just waiting to be eaten in the dark. Got another shortwave signal from upstate New York, a group calling themselves the Hollow Pines. They've set up camp in a burned-out ski lodge, high ground, limited access. One of them was a nurse, another used to work in refrigeration. They've managed to keep insulin cold for 6 weeks. That's a miracle now. They're running out of fuel, though. If anyone out there is near the old Catskill Range and can bring diesel or propane, do it. These people are saving lives. And if we lose them, we lose a lot more than a radio call sign. We lose hope. Back here in the studio, the walls are starting to breathe. Not literally, but you get what I mean. You stare at something long enough in this kind of silence, and it starts to shift. You start to wonder if maybe the world isn't broken. Maybe it's waking up. Or maybe we are. You start to remember the things you should have said to people who aren't around anymore. The way you hung up too fast on a call. The way you didn't say, "I love you," loud enough that day they left. I think about my sister a lot. She was in Florida when the first wave hit. We haven't spoken in 84 days. If you're out there, Sarah. I still have the keychain you gave me, the one with the old lighthouse. I keep it hanging from the microphone. Every night I touch it before I speak. Just to remember the sound of your voice. If anyone in the Pensacola region is still transmitting, try channel 14.390. Just once. Even static would help. I just want to know she heard me. Just once. The city's changed. I don't recognize the skyline anymore. Fires burn without smoke now. Buildings lean like drunks. The air smells like copper and dust. You walk 10 blocks and don't see a soul, and then suddenly there's a sound behind you, like gravel underfoot. But when you turn, nothing. You keep walking, because stopping is worse. A woman called in an hour ago. Her voice was thin, stretched, like someone speaking through a cracked window. She didn't say her name, said she didn't want to leave a trail. That's something people say now, like saying your name is dangerous, like memory itself has teeth. She was in Tennessee, somewhere near the edge of what used to be the Great Smoky Mountains. Said her group had been 30 strong last month. Now they were 7. The rest had either vanished or gone quiet. Some turned. Others just walked into the woods and didn't come back. She said something strange. Said the forest changed them. That it listens in a way it never used to. Trees bending at the wrong times. Birds going silent right before the air thickens. She said the infected don't just stumble in anymore. They wait behind trees. They pick their steps. Like hunters. I don't know if that's true, but I've stopped calling anything impossible. She said something else that's been bouncing around in my skull. It's not just what they are, it's what they're becoming. I asked what she meant, but the line cut out. To the woman in Tennessee, if you're hearing this, try again. Your voice mattered tonight. There's this old street sign outside the station. It used to say Maple Avenue. Now it's been twisted half off its post, and someone spray-painted "Keep Left of Darkness" over the name. I don't know what that means, but every time I walk by it, I feel like someone's watching. Not the infected, not something with a body, just something in the corners, and I know I'm not the only one feeling it. The air's different lately. People have been saying it in their calls, in their notes, in the way they breathe into the mic, like the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for a punch that hasn't landed yet. A man named Carter left a message on the repeater near Lake Erie. Said he found a boat, a real one, not a rowboat or a raft, but an old patrol boat docked and untouched. Said the fuel was full, the keys still in the ignition. Said the only strange thing was a child's shoe on the deck. One single shoe. No prints. No blood. He left anyway. He said, "If this is a trap, I'll take the chance." Sometimes that's all we have left. The choice between a quiet death and a louder risk. If you're near the Great Lakes and you hear this, look for anything that floats. Stick to shore. Stay out of the main channels. But if you see that patrol boat, stay back. Something about that shoe feels wrong. I found an old voicemail recording system in the basement. Battery operated. Used to be for listener requests. I played through some of the old messages tonight. Most of them were birthdays and song requests. But one of them wasn't. It was from a woman named Julie. She sounded tired, but calm. She said, "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. And that's okay. I had 3 good weeks with people who mattered. We danced under candlelight. We told stories. We didn't cry when it got dark. If you find this, know it can still be beautiful, even now." Then the recording ended. I copied that message to tape. I'm going to play it every hour, because people need to hear that. They need to know there's still room for beauty. The generator's coughing again. Might not make it to sunrise. If the signal cuts, I'll come back as soon as I can. But if I don't, keep talking to each other, even if it's just through notes or knock patterns or scratches on concrete. Just don't go quiet. Silence is the worst kind of death. Earlier today, I watched the sun set through the broken window near the back wall. It was red. Not just the regular kind. Deep red, like something burning on the horizon. The clouds didn't move, birds didn't cross it, and the wind just stopped. The sky held its breath, and so did I. If you're keeping a journal, don't stop. Write it all down. Even the ugly parts. Especially the ugly parts. Because someone will read them one day. Someone who didn't see this. Someone who only knows what came after. And they'll need to understand how close we came to losing everything. How close we still are. I'm going to try and get some sleep. If I can. The cot in the corner is cold but safe enough. I'll loop this recording till the batteries give out. If you hear it, you'll know I'm still breathing. And if you're still breathing too, then maybe we're not done yet. Let me know when to continue with part 5. It's just after 5 a.m., still dark. No birds, no wind, no clouds. Just this stillness that feels unnatural, like the world's been paused and no one remembered to hit play again. I've been watching the same streetlight flicker for an hour now. It's not connected to anything, no grid, no power line, but it keeps flashing. Like it's trying to say something in a language I can't understand. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe everything's tired. If you're awake, if you're listening, this is Daniel Gray on 104.9. Still transmitting from the edge of what's left of the city. Still trying to hold the signal. Still trying to hold on to what matters. If you've just tuned in, you're late to the end of the world. But you're not alone. There's an old man 3 buildings down who's been whittling wooden birds. He leaves them on windowsills like offerings. I asked him once why he did it. He didn't answer. Just looked at me with these pale blue eyes and said, "Gotta give the sky something to come back for." I think about that every time the static gets loud. We had a call come through earlier from a convoy outside Des Moines. 4 trucks, 22 people, 2 of them pregnant. They're moving slow, sticking to back roads, using road flares only when they need to change direction at night. Said they were following an old trail left by another group that passed through weeks ago. Chalk arrows on tree trunks, stacks of stones by mile markers, bits of red cloth tied to fence posts. A code only the desperate would notice. A trail made by ghosts for the living. They're heading toward something they heard called the Ring. Supposed to be an airfield that was turned into a circle of caravans and shipping containers. Armed perimeter, gardens in the center, no confirmed contact. Just rumors passed from one survivor to the next like bedtime stories for the damned. If you're in Iowa or near the Missouri border, keep your eyes open for smoke rings in the sky. That's their signal. 3 quick bursts, 1 long trail. They say it means still breathing, still waiting. God, I hope they make it. There's something strange happening on the northern frequencies. Low droning sounds, stretched out over several minutes. Almost mechanical, not quite natural. And underneath it, if you listen closely, there's a hum, like singing, but not human. It started 2 nights ago. We thought it was just bleed from another signal, maybe an old weather station loop gone wrong. But it hasn't stopped. It changes slightly every hour, like it's adjusting. Some people think it's a new type of infected. Others think it's just the planet itself, groaning under the weight of everything it's seen. I don't have answers. But I know what I feel when I hear it. And what I feel is dread. To the boy in the blue jacket who left a drawing in the drop box outside the station. I got it. It's taped to the glass right above the broadcast desk now. You drew a house with smoke coming out of the chimney, a tree with a tire swing, a dog on the porch, and the sun, the biggest sun I've ever seen, taking up half the page. You wrote, "When the sun comes back, we go home." That line broke me, because I think we all forgot what home even means now. but you reminded me. Thank you. There was a woman who used to call in every week. Her name was Rhea. She lived somewhere outside Detroit. Always had a calm voice, like she was reading bedtime stories instead of survival tips. She'd give us updates on her garden, talk about the beans she was trying to grow inside old tires. She hasn't called in 3 weeks. If anyone's in that area and comes across a rooftop with green tarps and white buckets, look for her. Her last message was, "I think the soil's finally listening." I hope she's still whispering to it. Something new's been spotted near what's left of Denver. A group moving in formation. Not fast, not clumsy, just slow, organized. Someone watching through a scope said they stopped at a playground. Just stood there. 5 of them. Not eating, not moaning. Just standing under the monkey bars. Then they all looked up at the same time. Stayed like that for 5 minutes. Then they walked away. No one knows what it means. But if they're remembering who they were, we might be too late. Got another shortwave report from what's left of the Vermont relay chain. A woman named Lisette said the snow's falling earlier than expected. Heavy flurries, winds picking up, roads almost gone. But she said something else too. Said they've started carving signs into tree trunks. Simple ones. Circles for food, triangles for shelter, stars for medicine. It's a new language now. Not for us, for whoever comes next. Maybe they'll understand it better than we did. I know this is a long night, but you're still here. And as long as you are, I'll keep talking, even if I'm just talking to myself. Because if you're breathing, then we haven't lost yet. Not really. There's something about the early morning hours, between 5 and 6, where everything feels thinner, like the dark is stretched too far, and if you push just a little, you might tear through into something else. I sit here watching the power needle drop on the panel and think, maybe that's what we're doing, tearing through. One word at a time. It's still quiet outside. No movement on the street. No flicker in the windows across from me. The sky's a dull gray now. Not light, not dark. Just muted. A limbo. And maybe that's what all of this is. A slow, grinding wait between what we were and whatever's coming next. I picked up another short burst message, faint, like a whisper behind a closed door. A man named Joel, somewhere in the Ozarks. He sounded out of breath, said his group had found something underground. Old tunnels, pre-war infrastructure, not bunkers, real maintenance tunnels with sealed doors and dry walls. He said they'd been using them to move undetected. He also said not to go too deep. He didn't say why. His last words were, "There's something down there that's not dead, but it's not alive either." Then the signal collapsed. If you're listening, Joel, try again. I've locked your frequency. You're not forgotten. The broadcast from Michigan came back for a few seconds this morning. The same family we heard from last week. The ones trapped in their attic. It was the son this time. Young. Maybe 15. Voice cracked halfway through. He said they were running out of food, that the water had turned brown, that their dad hadn't spoken since Tuesday. He ended with, "If anyone hears this, we're still here. Please don't let us die quiet." I don't know where they are exactly, but if anyone in the Michigan suburbs hears a faint signal near 14.265, stop, tune in, help them, even if it's just your voice on the other end. Sometimes Being heard is the only thing that keeps you breathing. A kid from Montana left a message written on a piece of denim, wrapped it around a rock, and threw it through the old studio fence. His handwriting was messy, barely legible. But it said, "I walk with the sun on my back so the shadows fall ahead. I never let them catch me." No name, no age, just that line. I've pinned it to the wall because it reminds me why I'm still here. Because it reminds me that someone out there still walks toward the light. There's a woman in Kansas who says she's been planting trees, says the world needs roots again. She left a voice log where she describes digging holes in frozen soil with a piece of rebar, pressing little pine saplings down into the dirt, and wrapping their bases with whatever cloth she could scavenge. She said, "I don't know if they'll grow. I just want something to outlive this." If you're listening, tree lady, you've already done more than most. Something will outlive this, even if it's just the memory of trying. A cluster of survivors near the Canadian border managed to hold off a swarm last night. Their trick? Noise traps. Tinfoil tied to fishing line, stretched between trees. When the wind hit just right, it rattled like whispers. They said the infected hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough to shoot and fall back. They're still alive. Sometimes that's all a trick needs. Just enough time. If you're in the forest and you have nothing else, remember, the mind plays tricks. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it plays them on your enemies too. The static's growing louder on Channel 7. That means weather's changing. Storms building west of the Mississippi. High winds. Cold air mass dropping faster than expected. If you're on the move, dig in now. Don't trust your tires. Don't count on fuel. Cold like that can freeze your skin in minutes, can make metal snap like twigs. Shelter matters more than distance now. Get warm. Stay low. And if you can't sleep tonight, that's okay. Most of us can't. But maybe someone's still awake on the other side of the silence. Maybe they're listening too. And maybe, just maybe, the space between our words is thinner than we think. This is Daniel Gray, still holding the line on 104.9. Still hoping you're out there. Still hoping for the next sunrise. Morning broke without light. It's just a gray sheet out there, sky and earth stitched together by fog. No sun, no shadows, just the kind of dim that settles into your bones and doesn't leave. I stepped outside the station for a moment, just stood there, breathing in what little air didn't taste like dust or old rain. I used to take mornings like this for granted. A stretch, a yawn, the smell of coffee from somewhere else. Now it's just silence and damp brick. Still I listen. Every hour. Every crackle of the receiver. Every scrap of voice across the wire. Somebody's always reaching. We got a burst message from a rig off the Gulf, a floating platform that's been running silent since the second wave hit. Said they're 32 strong, and they've been desalinating seawater for months. Solar-powered, fish traps, rain collection, even a little garden in crates stacked on the helipad. They don't broadcast often. Said they don't want to draw attention. But they're looking for medics. 2 of their people got sick. Not from infection. Something else. Might be food-related. Might be the water. If you've got medical training and can get near the coast, they'll take you in. They said, bring skills. Leave weapons. We're not at war with each other. Not yet. I got a message on the side wall again. The kid with the notes. This one was just a drawing. a pair of boots in the mud, and a little flag planted next to them. The flag had a single letter on it. V. I don't know what it means, but I taped it to the inside of the studio door. That's 4 notes in a week now. No footprints around the station, no noises, no voice, just paper, pencil, and quiet hands. Whoever you are, I see you, and I hope someone sees you too. An older man came through yesterday, drove a battered Ford that looked like it had seen 3 wars, said he was from Missouri, said he'd driven for 6 days straight, only stopping for gas and firewood, told me he'd buried his wife on the 2nd day, said she passed in her sleep. He didn't cry, didn't flinch, just said her name, Lily, and stared out the window like she was still in the passenger seat. He gave me a jar of canned tomatoes, said it was the last thing she'd made before everything fell apart, told me to save it for someone who needed it more than he did. I haven't opened it. I keep it on the console, right next to the emergency mic. Maybe that's the most sacred thing left in this world. A gift you don't use because the meaning's heavier than the need. We've been picking up fragments from what used to be the Carolinas, a group hiding in an old amusement park. They've set up inside the funhouse, mirrors removed, painted black inside. Said the winding hallways make it easy to funnel movement. Only 2 exits. 1 watchtower built out of a collapsed coaster track. They call the place the Laughing End. I don't know whether to find that funny or heartbreaking, but it's working, and they're alive. So if you're southbound and catch sight of a rusted Ferris wheel lit by solar lamps, that might be your way out, for a little while anyway. Just remember, mirrors lie, especially now. A woman from Wisconsin sent a message sewn into fabric, hand-stitched along a wool scarf. Took her 5 days to reach the drop point. It read, "We are not ashes. We are embers. Bury us wrong, and we'll burn our way back up." I read that 10 times before I understood what she meant. People like her, they're already rebuilding. Even if the walls are made of sticks and rust and old hopes patched together like quilts, they're still building. Still believing. That's how we start again, not with plans, but with stubborn, quiet acts of defiance. A man named Isaiah radioed from somewhere in West Texas, said they've been harvesting tumbleweed for insulation, said the nights are too cold and the desert's no longer empty, claimed he saw them, the infected, stacking rocks. Not like a wall, not like a message, just stacking, over and over. Said they only stopped when the wind blew strong enough to knock it all over. Then they'd start again. He said it made him feel like maybe we're not the only ones left with ghosts in our heads. Maybe the things that walk the dark remember more than we think. And maybe forgetting is what saves us. To the woman who called in asking if it's worth it to keep going, I don't have a good answer. But I'm still here. So maybe that's the answer. Sometimes the only reason to keep going is because stopping doesn't make sense yet. And because someone, somewhere, is looking for a voice in the static. Maybe that voice is yours. It's late morning now. The kind of morning where you can't tell if the sun's really up or if the sky just forgot to be night. The fog hasn't lifted, and I don't think it will today. It's clinging to everything. The buildings, the cars, the trees that still have leaves. It makes the world feel smaller, like the horizon's folded in on itself. There's something comforting in that. The way the fog hides the broken parts makes it easier to pretend. I walked the length of the street earlier, just needed to feel my legs move, needed to hear my own breath, past a laundromat that still had clothes inside, stuck mid-cycle, water long gone, windows broken, a red hoodie spinning gently in the breeze. No bodies, just the memory of someone waiting. We used to wait for everything, green lights, elevators, someone to text back. Now all we do is move, because waiting means staying, and staying means they catch up. Still. I paused there, just for a minute. Let the quiet settle. Sometimes that's all we have left of the old world, moments that don't hurt. A woman from Montana sent a recording. She found an old cassette deck in a fire station, dug up some blank tapes, started documenting their days, their nights, their losses, their songs. She calls it the ash logs. She said, "If you're hearing this, then it means someone made it. Someone carried our voices forward. That's enough for me." She sings at the end of every tape. Quiet, broken little lullabies. I've got the first one queued up. I'll play it after sundown. Let someone else carry the night for once. Someone near Salt Lake carved a message into an abandoned bus. "We are the echo. Listen back." Nobody knows who wrote it, but it's showing up in more places now. Spray painted on broken bridges, scratched into concrete, chalked onto the sides of rusted-out train cars. We are the echo. I think it means we're what's left. Not the scream, not the song, just the part that bounces off walls long after the source is gone. But echoes are still sound, and sound means someone's still speaking. So keep speaking, even if it's just to yourself, even if it's just in the dark. An older woman, I think her name was May, called in from what used to be upstate New York, said she'd turned her greenhouse into a safe house, covered the roof with blackout tarps, wired the perimeter with soda cans and fishing bells, keeps a shotgun under the table and a journal in her lap. She said, "I've lost everyone I ever knew, but I still talk to them. I still set plates at the table. I still say goodnight." And then she paused and added, "That's not crazy. That's memory." I told her she's right. We don't carry the dead. They carry us. There's a map here in the studio. Old paper thing, torn edges, thumbtacked to the wall behind me. Every time I get a call, I mark it. Every confirmed group, every maybe, every rumor. It looks like a constellation now. Faint little stars across a ruined land. Some of those stars have gone dark. Others have faded. But a few are still glowing. Still sending out their signals. Still saying, "We're here." So if you found a place, if you've built something, protected someone, saved a story, tell us. Call it in. Mark the map. We need more stars. A boy from Louisiana left a message on the wind. Not sure how he got it through. Might have been on a solar-powered beacon. Might have been a fluke. But his voice came through, clear as anything. He said, "I miss the sound of trains. They used to mean someone was going somewhere. Now they're just skeletons on the tracks." Then silence. No name, no location. Just that one thought. And I haven't stopped thinking about it since. How movement used to mean hope. And now it just means escape. But even escape means you're still fighting. Still trying. A couple from Nevada called in earlier. Said they'd found an old church still standing. Stained glass intact. Roof solid. Enough pews to sleep 20. They're turning it into a shelter. They lit candles for the first time last night. Said the light looked like forgiveness. I don't know what they meant, but I want to believe it's true. that maybe there's still something out there, something watching, waiting, not to punish, but to understand. And maybe, if we make it through this, we'll deserve to be understood. It's just past noon. Hard to keep track these days. The clocks here still tick, but time doesn't feel the same anymore. There's no rush, no real schedule. Just the slow passage of light and shadow as the world creaks forward, half awake, half forgotten. I haven't heard birds in 3 days, not even the crows. Something about that sits wrong in my chest, like the air's missing a layer. You notice the holes in the world more when there's nothing left to fill them. Someone left a message etched into the pavement outside the station, scratched in with a key or maybe a nail. It says, "Remember who you were." Just that. Not who you are, not who you'll become, who you were. I sat on the curb and stared at those words for a long time. It made me think of my dad. He was a mechanic, wore the same brown jacket every winter for 20 years. Always smelled like grease and pine-scented soap. He used to whistle while fixing the heater, always out of tune. But it made you feel like things were going to be okay. He didn't survive the first month, but I hear him sometimes. In the hum of the generator, in the clink of tools when I move stuff around, in the silence after I finish speaking. Maybe that's what remembering does. It doesn't bring people back, but it brings you back. Just enough. Got a burst signal from an old trucker rig outside of Amarillo. Guy named Simon. Said he's been hauling small survivor groups between towns, using the old CB lines and back roads. Runs solo now. Lost his co-driver a few weeks back. Won't say how. He said, "This country used to be built on asphalt and radio. I'm just trying to keep both going." Said his truck's painted with messages from every group he's helped. Names, stories, final words. Like a rolling memorial. Like a graveyard on wheels. He's headed north next. If you see a red semi with a prayer flag on the grill and spray-painted names across the doors, give him a signal. One long beam, one short. He'll stop for that. He still believes in people. God help him. Somebody asked me last night, through static and shortwave, why I keep broadcasting. Why not run? Why not hide? I didn't answer right away, but I've been thinking about it since. And here's what I've got. Because there's still breath in my lungs. Because words are lighter than bullets. And sometimes they hit harder. Because someone has to remember. And because if even one person hears this, if even one soul out there keeps walking because they heard their name or their story or just the sound of another voice, then it matters. That's why. A teenager from Colorado drew a map in charcoal on the back of an election sign and dropped it off at a known checkpoint, marked every place with clean water they'd found. Little notes like, "Still flowing," or "Boil first," or "Watch for dogs." No name, no face, just help. That's the kind of quiet bravery I wish the old world had more of. Not loud, not proud, just kind. Got word of a small community in northern Idaho. They call themselves The Line. Said they've built a perimeter out of train cars and gravel mounds. Solar panels run water filtration. They farm potatoes in old bathtubs. One of them even has a solar-powered oven. They said they've made it through 2 winters. They also said something strange. That sometimes, just before dusk, they hear music. Not singing, not instruments, just rhythm, like a heartbeat pulsing through the air. They don't know where it comes from. They don't go looking. I don't blame them. Some mysteries are better left untouched. To the woman who wrote in asking how to sleep when it's quiet, I don't know the answer. But I keep a tape running. Old rain sounds, static loops, the sound of wind through trees before everything went wrong. It doesn't fix anything. But it helps me pretend the world still turns the same way it used to. And some nights, that's enough. I saw a photo taped to a mailbox this morning. Faded, wrinkled, probably from someone's wallet. It was 2 kids on a swing set. Behind them, a house with yellow siding and a crooked fence. No note, just a photo. A reminder that there was a time before all this. A time worth fighting for. We're still writing this story. Don't stop now. It's mid-afternoon now. Some light finally made it through the haze, but it's not warm. It's thin, cold, almost metallic. It feels more like a reflection than sunlight, like something pretending to be day. The streets are still empty. No smoke, no movement, no sounds. But the quiet doesn't feel peaceful. It feels staged, like the world's holding its breath before something falls apart. I keep scanning the rooftops out of habit. You'd be surprised how often they come from above now. I got a transmission this morning, a child's voice, maybe 8 or 9. He didn't say where he was, just that he was safe, for now. Said his mom told him to keep the batteries warm, that radios work better when they're not cold. He's been wrapping his hand crank radio in wool socks at night. He ended with, "I listen to you when I can't sleep." Then he coughed, a dry, wheezing sound, and the signal cut. I've played that clip back 6 times. If you're hearing this, kid, keep cranking. Wrap it in every sock you've got. I'm still here. I'll be here until I can't be. From Arkansas, someone calling himself Slate left a voice log describing a flooded school-turned-shelter. Said they've built floating platforms out of desks, anchored them to the stair rails. He said they move with the tides now, back and forth, like the building itself is breathing. They use the library as a watchpost. Most of the books are gone, burned for heat or eaten by mold. But there's a single shelf they've preserved. Old stories. Fairy tales. Paperbacks about dragons and forgotten kingdoms. He said, "We read them out loud every night. Doesn't matter if you're 6 or 60. I get that. We don't just need shelter. We need stories, because stories remind us we're still human. A woman named Doreen reached out from the Upper Peninsula. She's been living inside an abandoned grocery store for over 60 days, sleeps in the walk-in freezer, cooks on a propane stove, plants her own herbs in the frozen food section. She said the shelves echo when she walks, that sometimes it sounds like someone breathing behind her. She keeps mirrors near the doors, not for vanity, for watching shadows that don't belong. She said she doesn't see people anymore, just movement. But she still brushes her hair every morning, still writes in a notebook, still folds her clothes at night. That's how she stays herself. That's how you fight the rot, not just with barricades, but with ritual. Somebody spray-painted a message on the side of a broken ambulance near Route 55. There's no going back, but we still go forward. I stood in front of that for 10 minutes today, just letting the words sink in. Because they're true. We don't get the old world again, but we don't stop. Forward is all there is now. Even if it's slow, even if it hurts, even if you have to crawl, you move, you move. A convoy passed through the old rail yard this afternoon. I didn't see them, but I heard them. Engines running low. No horns, no chatter. Just the soft crackle of wheels over gravel. Maybe 5 or 6 trucks. Probably more. They didn't stop. Just left a mark in the dirt near the studio gate. 3 dots and a line. Someone told me that's code now. Means signal safe. If that's true, thank you. Whoever you are. Keep moving. We're still watching the road. There's a small group somewhere in the desert southwest, maybe Arizona or New Mexico. They go by the Quiet Hands. They don't use radios. They use smoke signals during the day. Mirrors. At night, they flash coded light across ridges. Patterned movement. We only know about them because someone caught a message on a lens flare recorded by drone. Yes, some drones still fly. Not many. But enough to remind the sky it's not empty yet. The Quiet Hands don't speak often, but when they do, it's short. Their last message was, "We are still learning. The old ways are gone, but we have new ones." I want to meet them, or at least see their lights from afar. There's something sacred about people who still choose to build. I heard thunder earlier. Real thunder. Not the kind that sounds like collapsing walls or distant riots, but the roll of sky splitting open. And for a moment, the air smelled like it used to, like wet dirt, like maybe the world hadn't given up on us yet. Maybe it's waiting for us to remember how to deserve it. To the girl who left a note in a shoebox at checkpoint 29, I read your poem. The one about your brother and the creek behind your house. I read every line, and I believed it. Yes, the water still flows. Yes, the grass will grow again. Yes, someone will laugh under a tree and not be afraid. Maybe not today, maybe not for a while, but it will happen, because you believed it first. And that's how everything starts. It's just after 4 p.m., a little colder now. There's a bite in the wind that wasn't there this morning, the kind that sneaks through the seams in your jacket, that finds the gaps between your ribs and makes you remember just how thin the line is between comfort and collapse. No new transmissions in the last hour, just static and the hum of everything holding on. That's all right. Silence has its own shape. You get used to it. You learn to listen underneath. Sometimes silence means peace. Other times, it's a warning. A man from Oregon left a recorded message on an old reel-to-reel player. Said he used to be a musician, spent most of his life teaching kids how to find rhythm in things. Drums, shoes, spoons on tabletops. Said the world always had a beat, even in traffic, even in chaos. He's alone now. Said his drum kit is long gone, but he still taps. Fence posts, rail ties, empty cans. He said, "The day I stop hearing rhythm is the day I know I've gone too quiet to matter." I think he's right. Even now, the world has a rhythm, not the one we knew, not the one we want, but it's there, in the slow sway of trees that haven't given up, in the drip of melting ice on a rooftop, in a voice like mine reaching out into the dust. There's a woman in Georgia who says she keeps bees. She found a hive inside a dead tree and decided it was worth saving. Dug out the rot, rebuilt the trunk with mud and cloth, and waited. Said the bees came back. Now she has honey. Not much, but enough. She said, "They don't know the world's gone. They just keep working." And maybe that's a kind of wisdom. Don't ask why. Don't mourn the fall of every flower. Just keep working. one wing beat at a time. A group in Minnesota left a chalkboard outside their shelter. Every passerby writes something on it. Names, jokes, confessions, memories. One line stood out. We still dream, even when we can't sleep. I wrote that one down. I think about dreams a lot lately. The ones that feel more real than the daylight. The ones where things are clean again, where music plays in open windows, where the only fear is missing your alarm. You wake up from dreams like that and the silence hits harder, but you hold on to the feeling anyway, because hope doesn't live in facts. It lives in the maybe, and maybe is enough. Someone from the far north, way up in Alberta, said the ice is finally starting to hold. They've moved onto a frozen lake, built shelters out of shipping pallets and old tarps, fish through the cracks, burn pine cones for heat. Said the infected don't cross the ice. Too slick, too open, too loud. They said the sky there is so clear it hurts. That the stars feel closer, like you could reach up and pull one down just to warm your hands. I wonder if the stars are watching us, or if they turned their backs a long time ago. There's a new phrase making its way around the shortwave loops. Heard it 3 times now from 3 different regions. One light, one truth. Nobody knows where it started. Could be code, could be a message, could be a prayer. But it's catching. Someone etched it into the hood of an overturned car near the checkpoint bridge. Another sprayed it on the side of an old water tower. And I saw it carved into bark near the southern woods. One light, one truth. I don't know what it means yet. But I say it under my breath sometimes, when the signal drops. Feels like something we're supposed to understand later, when it matters most. To the man who asked if anyone still grows food. Yes, they do. A woman near Boise grows potatoes in a bathtub. A group near El Paso has tomatoes in hanging buckets. And someone in St. Louis figured out how to sprout beans in tin cans, rotating them on strings to catch the little sun that shows up each week. It's not much, but they're alive, the plants, and the people. That counts for something. The generator's running smoother tonight. Maybe it's the new fuel mix, maybe it's luck, or maybe it's just mercy from whatever power still watches over stubborn voices and late-night signals. Either way, I'm grateful, because I still have stories to tell, still have messages to pass, still have names to speak into the static, and as long as I do, you'll hear them. You'll hear you. The sky's starting to dim again. Not quite evening yet, but the light has that tired look it gets when the sun's losing interest. Everything has a gray tint now. The cars, the glass, even the air, like the world's been rubbed down with ash. I've always liked this hour. Used to call it the soft hour. But now it feels more like a warning. The dark comes fast these days, and it doesn't always come alone. I heard from someone outside Boise, an old school janitor named Miles. He's living in what used to be an elementary. Said he sleeps in the nurse's office, eats from the vending machines, and keeps the fire going in an old metal trash can. Said he walks the halls every morning with a broom just to hear the sound. He doesn't clean anymore. There's nothing left to clean. But he sweeps the floors because it reminds him of before. Reminds him that he was good at something. Said he found drawings on the wall of room 3A. Kids, animals, stars. Left there from whatever class made it out last. He doesn't erase them. He leaves them right where they are. Because that's what we have now. Not fresh paint, not repair. We have reminders, and sometimes those are stronger than walls. From somewhere deep in Nevada, a man called in, said he was living in a dry riverbed, built his shelter into the side, using old tires and sheet metal, said he's got a dog, real quiet, real smart. He called her Penny, said she saved his life 3 times already, once by barking, twice by not barking. He keeps a journal in the dirt, draws circles around places he's been, adds a dot for every day he's survived. No dates, just dots. I asked him what he was looking for. He said, "I'll know when I find it." Then he laughed, said maybe he just wants to see what's past the horizon. I hope he gets there. We had a flicker from a city that shouldn't be lit. Las Vegas, not the Strip, that's long gone, but something on the edge of the ruins, a pulse, maybe solar, maybe something else. It came in 3 blinks, 1 pause, then a long shine. We think it's intentional. We don't know who sent it. But we're watching. If you're in that area and you've found light, let us know. Use the open band. Any hour. The dark's not winning yet. Not everywhere. A girl named Ruby wrote a message in charcoal on a tarp and nailed it to a barn wall near an abandoned road checkpoint. It read, "The night is long, but not forever. I remember fireflies, and I know they'll come back." She signed it with a little drawing of a jar. It's the kind of message that grabs something in your throat. The kind you don't want to read out loud because your voice might crack. I think about Ruby a lot now. I hope she's still writing, because people who remember light are the reason it returns. There's a couple in the northern plains who've been tracking stars. They've mapped constellations by hand, not the ones in science books. Their own, made-up names. The Knife, the Dancer, the Hollow Wing. They said, "When everything else goes, the sky stays." And they're right. Look up wherever you are. Even if you're afraid, even if your hands shake. Because sometimes knowing something ancient is still shining above you is the only thing that keeps your feet moving. A voice from Texas came through on the shortwave just before the weather shifted. Said the clouds were moving too fast to be natural, that the air pressure dropped all at once. Said the animals were gone. Not dead, just gone. He asked if anyone else had seen something similar. He said, "It's like the sky's hiding something." We've had 3 more calls since then. Same thing. Fast clouds, empty woods, dead quiet. If you're out there and seeing this, mark it. Record the time. Watch the moon. Something's changing. And it's not just in us. To the boy who left a stack of cassette tapes in a waterproof case under the bridge near what's left of Birmingham, I found them. I played them. You're a good storyteller. The one about the bear who learned to write made me smile. Haven't smiled in a while. Not like that. I don't know your name. You never said it. Just the bear boy in crayon on the spine of every tape. If you're still making stories, keep going, because someone's listening. I'm listening, and I'll pass them on. One story at a time. I looked out the studio window just now and saw movement. Not fast, not threatening, just a figure in the distance, standing still, watching. I didn't wave, didn't speak, just looked back. They stayed for a long time, then turned and walked into the fog. If you hear this, if you were there, Thank you. Sometimes just knowing someone else is nearby is enough to keep the cold from settling in too deep. Sun's almost down. The last bit of light slipped through the clouds a few minutes ago, stretched across the window like a thin ribbon. It touched the wall, the old map, the microphone stand. Then it was gone. Just like that. Now we're back to gray. Back to quiet. The street lamps don't come on anymore. Neither do the porch lights, the store signs, or the brake lights at the intersection down the hill. But I still watch. I still wait for something to flicker. Even if it's only memory. We heard from someone near the ruins of Cleveland. A woman named Tess. She says they've taken over an old movie theater, boarded up the lobby, turned the projection booth into a lookout, said they sleep in the aisles, cook in the hallway, store water behind the concession counter. But what caught me was this. Every Friday night, they spool up the generator and run old reels. They don't watch the movies for plot anymore. They just let the light run. Let it flicker. Let it remind them of what it meant to gather. She said, "We cry every time, and none of us know why." But I think she does. I think we all do. A group from Montana sent out a burst message using flash-coded light bounced off tin sheets. It took a day to translate, but here's what it said. "We built a wall of wind chimes. The sound keeps them away. It also keeps us sane." Wind chimes. Of all things. It's beautiful, isn't it? That even now, surrounded, scattered, scared, we make music. Not for survival, not for strategy, just for the comfort of it. Just to remember how. Another voice today. This one younger. Maybe late teens. Said he was part of a mobile scout team. 4 people, 1 bike, 3 on foot. They move supplies between outposts. Wear old security vests for armor. Use chalk to leave messages behind. Said he missed his little sister. Said he used to braid her hair every morning before school. He left a message for her. Not sure if she's alive. Not sure where she is. But I'll read it anyway, just in case she's listening. You're stronger than anyone ever gave you credit for. And you always made the best pancakes. If you hear this, I'm still looking. That's love. Not the kind in books. The kind that doesn't care how many miles stand between 2 voices. It still speaks, even if it whispers. I passed by an old diner today. Empty. Of course, but someone had arranged chairs at the counter like people were still coming, set napkins down, tucked plastic forks next to chipped plates. There was even a pot of coffee warming on a camp stove behind the bar. No one was there, but someone had been. Someone had made space for others, even when no one came. That kind of kindness, that's holy now. That's what keeps the soul alive when nothing else does. A child's voice came through static just before the tower reset. A whisper, barely a sound. They said, "I can see stars tonight. Real ones. And they look like they're watching." Then, nothing. Just wind. I hope they're still looking up. I hope we all are. If you're alone tonight, and I know many of you are, I want to say this. You're not a ghost. You're not forgotten. You are still here. And that means everything. Because even one voice in the dark changes the shape of the silence. Even one breath makes the night less empty. The studio is cold now. The heater only works when I feed it bits of the old desk. I break off chunks each night. legs, drawers, a piece of molding here and there. It used to hold tapes, paper, letters from listeners. Now it holds fire. Funny how things shift like that, how survival rewrites purpose. Night has fully settled. The air's gone still. No rustle, no rattle. Just the long, low hum of wires that don't lead anywhere anymore. I've turned off every light in the building except for the one above the console. It barely flickers now. Battery's running low. But it's enough. Enough to see. Enough to speak. Enough to keep going. I heard from someone in what used to be Southern Illinois. A man named Kevin. Said he found an old church half buried in trees, just off the interstate. Roof mostly collapsed. Pews burned out. But the bell still worked. Every morning he rings it once. Not for prayer, not for warning, just for the sound. He said, if anyone hears it, they'll know there's still someone standing. Simple, honest, loud enough to echo. That's what we need now, something that carries farther than fear. From southern Utah, a woman named Lee sent out a sketch. It came through as a digital file. Old camera tech, battery held together with tape and cloth. It was a drawing of her home before the collapse. 2 windows, a red door, 1 dog asleep on the steps, a wind spinner next to the garden. She labeled everything. This was Tomato Row. This was where we buried the time capsule. This was where I learned to whistle. She ended the message with, I haven't been back. But if someone finds it, it was good there. I hope she returns one day. I hope it's still good. I found an old photo album in the corner cabinet here at the station, stuffed behind loose wires and radio schematics, thick with dust, pages stuck together. But I opened it. Pictures of people I'll never know. Christmas parties, office pranks, someone eating a whole pie without a fork, a man in a tie standing in front of this very mic, grinning like he had forever. They didn't know what was coming, but they smiled anyway. And maybe that's what courage really is. Joy before the storm. A man from somewhere near the Appalachians called in, said he doesn't speak much anymore, not out loud, said his voice scares the birds and he likes watching them land. He listens instead, listens to the creak of old floorboards, the pop of trees expanding in the sun, the buzz of flies over safe ground. He said the world talks now, just not in the way we're used to. I believe him. The world speaks. We just stopped hearing it for a while. But we're learning again, one sound at a time. To the woman who asked about hope, how do you keep it? Here's my answer. You don't. You let it keep you. You let it wrap around your ribs and hold tight, even when you're tired, even when it's foolish, even when it hurts. Because giving up is easy, but breathing through the ache, that's where the real work lives. That's where we remember who we are. Got a flicker from someone near the Mississippi River. Didn't catch a name, but they said their group has started writing lullabies. They sing them even when there are no children. They sing them to each other. They sing them to the dark. They said, we've got one called the Lantern Song. Every time we light a fire, we hum it, so the flame knows it matters. That line stuck with me, so the flame knows it matters. I don't think I'll ever forget it. A young man, voice shaking, said he built a raft out of doors and fence posts, tried to cross the flooded highway east of Baton Rouge, made it halfway. Then the current caught him. He held on to a street sign for 3 hours. He said, "I kept talking out loud so I wouldn't disappear." That's why we speak, isn't it? So we don't vanish. So someone hears. So we echo, even if only once. The fire's down to a flicker. I've used up most of the old desk now, just one drawer left. I'm saving it for tomorrow. A strange kind of rationing, but everything is precious now, even wood that once held paper clips, even silence when it's shared. It's deep night now, the kind of night that feels bottomless, like there's no ground beneath your feet, just air and memory and whatever sound you can pull out of the quiet. I haven't seen movement outside in hours, not even shadows, but I don't trust stillness anymore. Stillness lies. Stillness waits. Stillness isn't safety. It's the breath before. A man named Victor called from near the border. Didn't say which one. Just the edge of the map. He's traveling alone. Pulls a wagon with solar panels lashed to it. A tent, a battery, and 2 chickens in a crate. He called it a traveling broadcast. Every time he stops, he turns on a speaker and plays music. Not to call anyone, not to send a signal, just to fill the space. He said, "If I don't hear something besides my own thoughts, they'll eat me alive." He's not wrong. That's what this voice is for, isn't it? To remind you, your thoughts aren't the only ones left. A family from what used to be Kansas left behind a notebook. Found it tucked inside a sealed water tank. Pages full of notes, crops, repairs, birthdays. Even one page labeled Games to Remember. One entry stood out. "We still play hide and seek. It teaches the kids how to move quiet." I read that 3 times. I didn't cry, but I felt something press down behind my eyes. Something that hasn't visited in a while. Grief in the shape of admiration. Someone out in Maine has started carving messages into stones and leaving them at trailheads. Short ones, clear ones. Turn back, clear past ridge. Follow red string. We made it through. I think that last one is the most powerful thing I've heard all day. Because surviving is one thing. But surviving and saying it out loud? That's a gift. If you're the one carving, thank you. You're leading more people than you'll ever meet. A woman from the southern coast reported something strange. She says the tides have changed, that they come in faster, that they pull deeper. She said the water near her shelter no longer reflects the moon, only the stars. I don't know what to do with that. But she wasn't afraid. She said, maybe it's not the world that's breaking. Maybe it's us getting smaller. And I keep coming back to that. Maybe we're shrinking. Maybe we're boiling down to something we were supposed to be all along. Quieter, leaner, more honest. Maybe that's not loss. Maybe that's clarity. To the man in Ohio who asked what we're supposed to do when the weight gets too heavy, I wish I had something wise. But here's what I do. I talk. I keep talking, even when I don't know who's listening, because silence never saved anyone. And every time I speak, it feels like I'm shoving one more stone into the wall that keeps the dark out. You don't have to be strong forever. You just have to be strong enough. Strong enough for today. Strong enough to light a match. Strong enough to keep breathing until something shifts. That's enough. That's everything. A man named Carlos called in from the southern hills. Said he's been painting. Walls, rocks, the sides of box trucks, anything with space. He doesn't paint warnings. He paints flowers, rows and rows of them. Bright reds, blues, yellows, ones that don't even exist anymore. He said, "If I'm going to go, I want the last thing I see to be color." So do I, Carlos. So do I. I found a cracked mirror behind the console tonight. I turned it over, and for the first time in weeks, I looked at myself. I saw the gray in my beard, the bags under my eyes, the cut I got last week, healing crooked. But I also saw something else. I saw someone still standing, still breathing, still here. And that's what I want you to know, whoever you are. You may not recognize your face anymore, but it's still yours, and it's still worth seeing. It's almost midnight. I can hear the station creaking around me. Wood shifting in the cold, metal groaning against itself. The walls aren't thick, but they've held this long. I taped some blankets over the broken windows earlier. They don't stop the cold, but they muffle the sound. And that's what matters. Not being heard. Not anymore. Just staying unheard. A man named Ellis left a message carved into a plank of driftwood, found it floating down the Susquehanna by someone who passed it forward, then another, then another. Eventually, it ended up here. It said, "If you find this, remember, you're not made of glass. You bend, you don't break. And if you do, you rebuild." There were no dates, no names, just a smudged handprint on the back. Maybe that's all we are now. Messages in motion. I hope someone finds your words one day, Ellis. They're worth keeping. Got another shortwave hit from that family outside Michigan, the Attic broadcast crew. The signal was weak, but it came through. This time it was the mother. She didn't speak long, just said, "We're down to the last wall, but we're still here. My son still smiles when we tell stories." And then she sang. It wasn't a song I knew, but it was slow, gentle, and it cracked a little in the middle. It sounded like home. And I let it play, even after the signal went dead. Because sometimes the after is where the meaning lives. Someone from northern Arizona sent a coded message using a light grid. Took us 6 hours to decode, and it was just one sentence. The birds returned this morning. We didn't move. We just listened. I cried when I read that. Not because birds mean it's over, not because they're a sign of safety, but because it means something still flies. Something still beats its wings, and something in this world still trusts the wind enough to follow it home. A man named Ilyas called in with his voice low and hoarse. He didn't ask for help. He didn't ask for hope. He just asked if anyone remembered snow days. Those mornings where school closed, and you stayed inside wrapped in blankets, watching the sky pour silence onto everything. He said, "That was the first time I ever felt peace. A kid with hot chocolate, listening to the world hush itself." He said he's trying to find that silence again. If he ever does, I hope he tells us. Because maybe we all need that kind of quiet now. The soft kind, not the dead kind. From a shelter beneath an old observatory in Vermont, someone called Eddie sent us a grainy photo. 4 people standing under a shattered telescope, looking up through the hole in the dome. There was a caption scratched into the image. "We watch the stars because they don't run." They stay. That hit me hard, because we've all been running, but not everything does. And maybe if we stopped for a second, if we looked up, we'd remember why we started moving in the first place. Not to escape, but to return. A man from a coastal station, east somewhere, maybe Maine, broadcast for 2 minutes before his line cut. Just enough to say this: the ocean glows sometimes. Not always. Not when you want it to. But when you're tired. When you're broken. That's when the waves shine. I've never seen that glow myself. But I believe him. Because sometimes you have to be at your lowest before beauty shows up. And when it does, you don't need to understand it. You just need to let it touch you. I walked out to the road again tonight, just to see. I left a candle in a jar on the mailbox. It's small, it's weak, but it's flame. And if someone passes by, someone cold, someone lost, they'll know someone else is still here. That matters. That's why I'll light another tomorrow, and the night after that. And everyone after until I run out of wax or breath. It's after midnight now, the hour when even the shadows grow tired. The station's quieter than usual. No buzz from the tower, no clicks from the backup relay. Just the low, constant hum of this mic, and the sound of my own breath in between words. I haven't slept in 2 nights. Not really. But I'm not ready to close my eyes just yet, because when I stop talking, the silence gets too loud. A signal came through earlier from someone riding an old freight cart down what used to be the main railway line between Indiana and Ohio. They called it the Bone Track. Said it runs quiet now. No more steel on steel, no more schedules. Just a winded squeal every couple of miles, like the rails still remember what it felt like to matter. They sleep under tarps in open boxcars, cook on stolen heat from cracked batteries, travel at night, rest at dawn. They said they saw a line of infected walking single file down the opposite track, quiet, in step, not chasing, not feeding, just walking. I asked where they thought they were going. They didn't answer. They just whispered, "I don't think they are going. I think they're returning." A boy named Mason left a message in a bottle that was found bobbing in a floodplain near Baton Rouge. Someone fished it out, read it aloud over shortwave, then tossed it downstream again. I copied it. Here's what it said. "If you're the one holding this, I hope you're safe. I hope you have warm socks. I hope your fire doesn't go out in the wind. I hope you hear someone laugh soon, and I hope it's yours." He signed it with a drawing of a cat and a heart. If I ever find Mason, I'm giving him a blanket, a can of peaches, and whatever strength I've got left. Because anyone who writes like that deserves to see the other side. There's a woman near the Rockies who started sewing again. She makes flags from scraps of tarp and denim, paints symbols on them, suns, arrows, trees. Some she leaves on rooftops. Some she mails to old outposts. One she strapped to the back of a dog that wandered through camp and left without a sound. She calls them markers. Not for territory, for spirit. She said, if someone sees color on the horizon, maybe they'll walk a little farther before they give up. I believe they will. I know I would. A man named Kento sent a voice recording through an old emergency beacon, said he'd been alone for nearly 6 months. Not completely. He'd seen others, just never approached. Said he was too afraid of losing someone again. But last week, he saw a little girl across the river, alone, wrapped in a blanket, crying. He crossed anyway, carried her back to his shelter. Now he broadcasts their stories every night at the same time. She draws, he talks. They take turns reading out loud from old magazines. He said, maybe all I needed was someone smaller than the silence. And I think that's true for a lot of us. We weren't built for solitude. Not this deep, not this long. Someone near Tulsa has started writing songs again. Not about loss, not about fear. Just songs. The kind that make you hum without realizing it. She strums them on a broken ukulele and sings to the wind. Said she plays one before sleeping and one when she wakes. Not to push back the dark, but to be a light inside it. I haven't heard her voice, but I've heard the silence around it. And it's softer now, like the world's listening. To whoever sent the note written on birch bark, tucked inside a rusted mailbox on Route 9. I got it. You wrote, I haven't spoken out loud in 27 days, but I still mouth the words when I hear your voice. You don't have to say anything back. Just stay. Just keep breathing. That's enough. I think about all the hands out there, the ones tying knots, the ones building traps, the ones shaking, the ones holding onto hope like a thread that frays a little more each morning. If that's you, I want you to know. Your grip matters, even if no one sees it, even if no one thanks you, even if no one else is left to hold on. You're the reason the rest of us are still standing. The stars are sharp tonight, not just bright, sharp, like someone took a needle to the sky and poked holes clean through the dark. I haven't seen them like this in months. No cloud cover, no ash, just endless cold light watching from above. It doesn't make me feel small. It makes me feel accounted for, like someone up there is keeping track of every one of us who's still moving, still breathing, still trying. A voice came in from somewhere near Fargo, said their name was Amelia, said they found an old grain silo turned lookout tower, 50 feet tall, reinforced with rebar and shipping pallets, spiral stairs welded to the outside. She called it the lighthouse. She lights a flare every evening, one red, one white. If you see it, she'll wave you in. Her only rule, no liars. She doesn't care what you've done, only that you tell it straight. She said too many people are dying with secrets clutched in their teeth. She said, if you want food, bring truth. Maybe that's what the new world runs on. Not trade, not strength, just honesty. There's a man named Thomas in what's left of South Chicago, former teacher, used to run a chess club. Now he leaves hand-drawn boards and little pieces carved from soap on stoops and under overpasses, always with a note, your move. If you win, leave the board. If you lose, reset it. No one knows how many are playing, but the pieces keep moving. And I like to think he watches from somewhere above, smiling at every pawn that makes it home. Someone out west, might have been Utah, maybe Nevada, sent in a recording of wind chimes they made out of spent shell casings and broken keys. It rang low and deep, like morning bells. They said, we used to make music out of celebration. Now we make it from what's left. But it's still music, still melody, still proof that we can turn weapons into lullabies if we want it bad enough. A small child, no name, no location, left a note drawn in crayon, scanned and sent through one of the old relay satellites. It was a picture of a dog, a house, and a yellow sun. The only words on it were, when it comes back, I'll be here. I taped it to the wall, right over the power switch, because someday someone will come back. And I want them to know someone waited. I keep a running list here. Scraps of paper, backs of envelopes, margins of maps, with the names of every place people say is still holding. Not guaranteed safe, not perfect, but holding. Here are just a few I've added this week. The Salt Dome camp near Avery Island, surrounded by wetlands, only one bridge in, reinforced daily. The Diggers' Shelter outside Butte, in the mines, powered by a microturbine, 57 strong. The Greenstack Tower near Asheville, vertical farm turned sanctuary. 3 floors for crops, 2 for families, 1 for song. They're not myths. I've spoken to the people there. They're tired, but they laugh, they build. They sing lullabies to babies born in the middle of all this ruin. That's not just survival, that's defiance. A woman named Joy in the North Woods said she walks every morning barefoot through the frost. She said it reminds her what her skin is for. She said pain is proof that we're still wired for feeling, and feeling means you're not gone yet. I believe her. I believe people like her are the reason the earth hasn't swallowed us completely. This mic crackles sometimes when I speak too long. The cable's fraying, the power's uncertain, but I stay close. Because what if someone needs to hear something tonight? What if this is the only voice they've heard in days? What if you're that someone? Then let this be what you hear. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. And no matter what the dark tells you, you are worth the story. The wind's picked up. Not a storm. Not yet. Just that slow, rising hum in the trees. The kind that rattles loose metal and carries voices farther than they're meant to go. I've had the windows sealed with cloth and duct tape for weeks, but I still hear it when the wind moves right. The world is breathing heavy tonight. Maybe it's warning us. Maybe it's just tired. Maybe both. I got a shortwave hit from someone camped out in the old rail yards outside Flagstaff. Called himself Reed. Said he's a scavenger, but not for food or ammo. Said he's looking for laughter. Recordings, old clips, film reels, audio files. He carries a solar rig and a hard drive and a fireproof box, says he's saving every joke he can find. He told me, "We already lost so much. I don't want to lose what it felt like to laugh and not be afraid of the echo." I asked him if he still laughs. He said, "Not yet, but I'm getting close." Keep going, Reed. We need you to finish that collection. A group in Idaho has repurposed an old water tower. They turned it into a watch post, sure, but also a signal mirror, a drying rack, and somehow a greenhouse. They lined the inside with reflective thermal blankets, built narrow catwalks around planters, and used salvage tubing to circulate water from a stream down below. They grow lettuce now, and chives. They're calling it the cylinder. They said, "We figured if we can make this grow, we can make anything grow." I believe them. People who plant seeds in steel don't give up easy. There's a man near the old Nebraska wind farms, lives in a service shack below one of the turbines. He calls the blades the giants, says they only turn when no one's watching, but when they do turn, he claims he can hear words. Not in English, not in anything he understands, but he writes them down anyway. He said, "They feel like prayers from the planet, like the wind is trying to remember us." He's got a notebook full of them. covered in phonetic syllables and symbols of his own making. I asked him why he keeps going. He said, "Because what if it's trying to answer back? Someone near Raleigh has started baking. Not with ovens, not with yeast, with stones and solar heat and flatbread recipes scratched into wood. She makes bread, wraps it in fabric, leaves it on crossroads, truck beds, and empty doorsteps. No notes, no signatures, just warmth, folded. If that isn't faith, I don't know what is." A boy called in from somewhere near the Great Lakes, voice trembling, said his dog's been gone for 2 days, said he keeps setting out food, leaving the door open just a crack. He asked if dogs know how to come home. I told him yes. I told him they do. Even if the world forgets the way, they don't. And even if they never return, they remember you. That's what love does. It echoes. It leaves footprints. And sometimes it finds its way back through the dark. Someone scrawled a message on a rusted fuel drum I passed this morning. It said, "Don't look for the world you lost. Build the one that's left." I stopped walking for a long time. Let the wind pass over me. Let the meaning sink in. Because it's true. There's no going back. But forward? Forward is still unwritten, and that means it's ours. I keep this broadcast going, not because I know how it ends, but because maybe I don't. Maybe that's the whole point. To keep filling the space with signal. To keep the fire lit. To keep saying names. To keep whispering into the dark until it whispers back. And it will whisper back. One day. Maybe it already has. The fire's almost out. I can hear the last bits of wood settling into ember. A soft crackle in the back room, like the station itself is exhaling after holding its breath too long. I haven't added fuel in hours, letting it burn slow, letting it last. Because this might be the last broadcast of the night. And maybe that's all right. There's a woman named Sarah near the Mississippi Delta. Lives in a houseboat lashed to a dead tree. She keeps watch with a fishing pole and a broken telescope, sends handwritten messages downstream in bottles sealed with candle wax. One of them made it here. The paper was torn, water damaged, but one line was still clear. "I'm not waiting to be saved. I'm waiting to matter." You do, Sarah. You matter more than you know. Someone in Northern California has been stitching maps. Not on paper, on blankets, canvas, old sheets. They mark safe paths with blue thread. They mark danger with rusted pins. They send them outward with caravans, folded tight, carried on backs. No names attached. Just sewn in the corner. We remember the routes you walked. That's what survival is now. Memory turned into material. A child in Alaska sent a message scratched onto birch bark, carried down a river, picked up by a group on the move. It read, "The sky is still blue here. The ice sings at night." I don't know their name, but I hope they keep listening to the ice, because anything that sings in this world is sacred. I've been at this mic for months now. Some days it feels like shouting into fog. Other days it feels like whispering into 1,000 ears. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But I know this. If you're still breathing, still listening, you are part of something bigger than what we lost. You are part of the rebuild. Not later, not someday. Now, every step you take is a blueprint. Every story you tell is a foundation. We are not ruins. We are scaffolding, and the world, broken as it is, will rise from us. Not because we fought, but because we remembered. Tonight, I'll leave the door unlocked. I'll keep one light burning. I'll tune the mic just right so that even if I fall asleep, this signal keeps humming. Because someone might pass by. Someone cold, hungry, scared. And I want them to hear it. I want you to hear it. The proof that the human voice, even cracked, even quiet, can still hold back the dark. This is the final hour of the final night of the first chapter of the world that came after. We'll write more. We'll sing more. We'll love again, not in secret, but out loud, under skies that still remember color. So if you're listening now, hold fast. You are not alone. And the road forward, whatever it looks like, begins with you. The broadcast ended, but the signal never died. It lingered, low, faint, steady, a pulse beneath the static, a thread through silence, the kind of thing only picked up by radios with dust on the dial, held by hands that still believed someone might be out there, still listening. And someone always was. Weeks later, a caravan passed through what used to be Missouri. They found the station still standing, the tower rusted, the door half open. Inside, they found the mic, still warm, still on. The walls were covered in maps, string, markings, coordinates, drawings from children, messages carved into wood, paper flags tied to the antenna with names scrawled across them. First names, last names, sometimes just a single letter. Someone had cared enough to remember. Someone had recorded us. They turned the power back on, just long enough to copy the files, just long enough to hear a few of the voices. And one girl, maybe 12, maybe 13, she sat by the mic and whispered her name. I'm Callie. I'm here. I made it. That was all. But it meant everything. Because now there's a new voice, a new hand on the dial, a new heart holding the fire. And just like that, the station breathes again, because we never stopped. Not really. Because hope, real hope, isn't loud. It's not brave. It's not shining. It's quiet. It's stubborn. It's still waking up every morning to build something out of the ash. And if you're reading this, hearing this, carrying this, then you're part of it too. You're proof. You're the next line in the long, unbroken signal that says, we were here, we survived, and we kept going, no matter what. There's no official end anymore. Even after the last line fades, even after the mic goes cold, something still lingers. Because voices don't vanish, they echo. Somewhere far north, maybe Yukon, maybe Alaska, someone tuned in late, found a signal barely holding, heard nothing but static for half an hour, then a breath, just one, and that was enough. They built their own transmitter the next day, not because they had something to say, but because someone might need to hear something. In the ruins of a former library, a boy named Eli found pages from a journal tucked inside a survival manual. It was the broadcast, transcribed by hand, front to back. Margins filled with notes, small sketches, little reminders. Day 102, he said the stars are watching. Day 178, remember the girl with the bread. Day 240. One light, one truth. Eli copied every word again, binding them with thread and bark. Left the original copy in a dry jar beneath the tallest pine tree near the ridge. Because someone will need it, and that's the point. That's always been the point. Years pass. The names fade. The radios fail. The old towers fall, but the stories don't. They live in the rebuilt shelters, in the lullabies whispered beside new fires, in the maps drawn in ash and chalk and memory. They live in you, if you remember. And if you forget, someone else will carry it next. Because what survived wasn't just the flesh. It was the voice, the telling, the choosing to speak even when there was no reply. Somewhere out there, another station hums to life. Another voice warms up a mic. Another breath crosses wires and waves and waits for a listener. And it always finds one. Because the world doesn't end with silence. It ends with the last person who stops reaching. And we're not done reaching, not yet, not ever. Signal resumes, begin again. You might think the signal fades when the power runs out, when the wires snap, when the buildings crumble. But you'd be wrong. The signal lives in other places now. In the space between two people sharing food without asking for anything in return. In the rhythm of boots pressed into dirt no map remembers. In the way someone says, keep going, without knowing if anyone heard. That's signal. That's broadcast. That's how the new world speaks. There's a girl in the Rockies who paints arrows on rocks with crushed berries and ash, not to lead, to remind. You were here. You passed through. You mattered. That's the new kind of landmark now, not stone statues, not city signs. Reminders. Proof that someone made it that far and wanted you to know they existed, and that they believed someone else would come next. Somewhere in the wetlands, someone's carved a single word into every tree they pass. Still. Still alive. Still moving. Still watching the sky. Still reaching. Still here. It's not defiance. It's a heartbeat. In the burned shell of an old gas station, a woman wired a speaker to a car battery. Plays music from a cracked MP3 player. The same 6 songs, looped. She doesn't know if anyone hears them, but sometimes she catches boot prints in the mud nearby. Facing the speaker, always facing, so she keeps playing, keeps charging that battery with the sun, keeps pressing play because maybe, somewhere, someone needed that exact chorus to remind them that life can still carry a tune. The transmission isn't one voice anymore. It's all of us. A web of stories and steps and signals passed hand to hand, breath to breath. You speak when you leave your mark. You broadcast when you choose to help someone instead of hide. You keep the tower alive by not giving up. Even when the sky turns black. Even when your throat's dry. Even when it feels like you're the last. You're not. You're just the next. So if you find this message, written, spoken, hummed in the dark, know that it was meant for you. Yes, you. The one staring into the horizon, wondering what comes next. The one walking with sore feet and full heart. The one building something small and strong and entirely human from the pieces the old world left behind. You're the story now. You're the signal. You're the light on the hill someone else is moving toward. Don't stop. Not because everything is okay, but because someone out there still believes it could be. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's everything. There's no next the way there used to be. No programming schedule, no morning traffic, no late night reruns. There's just what comes when you keep breathing, when you keep listening, when you don't stop talking, even if it's only to the wind. Someone built a windmill out of bicycle parts and coat hangers, out in the middle of what used to be Iowa. They call it the Whisper Spoke. It doesn't power much, just a single hanging light bulb and an old cassette deck that plays the same recording on loop. If you find this, sit down, rest. You don't have to speak, but you're not alone anymore. The voice on the tape is old, weathered, calm. It isn't trying to save anyone. It's just staying. A traveler near the remains of Pittsburgh discovered something strange. A clothesline strung between two bent lampposts. On it, dozens of shirts, each with words written in charcoal or paint or stitched by hand. We made it 5 days. We lost her but kept moving. We shared what little we had. We left the gate open. Come in. And on the last one, we heard your voice. Thank you. Whoever left them didn't need to be known. They just needed to be heard. In the desert, there's a man who teaches shadows to dance. He uses old bed sheets and wire frames and broken flashlights, makes them move across walls at night. Wolves, birds, trees swaying in invisible winds. He doesn't perform for crowds. There are no crowds anymore, just one person at a time. One tired soul sitting cross-legged on sand, watching shapes move like memory. He says nothing. He only bows when it's over. And when the wind takes the sheet, he folds it carefully and waits for the next. Because stories don't need language. They just need presence. A woman in the remains of Minneapolis keeps a jar of names on her windowsill. Every person who passes through, she writes their name on a piece of paper and drops it in. Doesn't matter if they stay. Doesn't matter if they come back. She said, "It's just so no one disappears." The jar is full now. She's started a second. No one knows how many jars she'll need, but she keeps collecting. Because memory is survival. And out there, somewhere far, maybe on the coast, maybe on a mountain, maybe floating on the last silent lake, someone will find this. These words, these transmissions, this long stitched together voice across 1,000 broken lines. They'll hear it. They'll stop walking. They'll breathe for the first time in hours, without fear, and they'll whisper, "I'm still here too." That's the only confirmation we ever needed. The fire may go out, the tape may end, the voice may falter, but the signal continues. As long as there are hearts to carry it, hands to pass it, mouths to speak it, ears to believe it. We remain. You remain. This is not the end. This is how we begin. Some say the world ended, but that's not true. It shifted. It quieted. It peeled itself down to the bone, and what stayed, the voices, the warmth, the hands that still reached, that's what was left behind to begin again. And you're part of that now. If you're reading this, hearing this, remembering this, you're one of the carriers. A boy in what used to be rural Montana walks with a wagon. Not for supplies, not for tools, for paper, stacks of it. Flyers, drawings, notes, photographs, all laminated between scraps of broken windshield and plastic wrap. He calls it the paper chain. Wherever he stops, he hangs the day's new sheet between trees, posts it to fences, ties it to abandoned cars, then moves on. He doesn't stay to see who reads them. But someone always does, because a story, even taped to rust, is a lantern. There's a man near the ruins of St. Louis who tattoos names on his arm. Not his name. Other people's. Only those who didn't make it. He never says them out loud. Never tells how he knew them. Just carries them in skin. He said, "The world carved holes in me. I decided to fill them back in." You can't argue with that. Some of us wear armor. Some wear memory. A woman outside the ashes of Portland draws sidewalk chalk paths between houses, swirls of arrows, stars, stick figures holding hands. She knows rain will wash it all away. She draws anyway. Because the act of coloring something that won't last is the definition of hope. And this time, someone followed them, left a flower on her porch, said nothing, just left proof that the color reached them. You want to know how to rebuild? It's not complicated. You don't need blueprints. You need a hand on someone's shoulder, a pot of warm water shared, a story told even when your throat's dry, a window left open for a voice that hasn't arrived yet. That's it. That's all it ever was. Not stone. Signal. Even now, miles from any light, past every dead city and under every scarred sky. The signal moves. In stories, in names, in fire passed palm to palm. So if you're wondering what to do next, if the road in front of you feels too wide or too dark or too empty, remember this. Someone ahead is waiting, not to save you, not to fix anything, just to say, you're not the last. And that's everything. That's the new world. Right there. One voice. Held open, carried forward. Still burning. In the deepest hours of the night, long after the old maps have faded and the last of the cities have gone quiet, there's a whisper carried by wind, by wire, by worn hands gripping a cracked receiver. It says, "We're not done." Somewhere, someone's reading the names carved into an overpass beam. They run their fingers over each one like braille, whispers each one aloud, pauses between them like prayers. They add their own at the bottom. Just a first name and the word "here." And that's enough. Not for closure, for continuity. A child in the salt plains draws spirals in the dirt. Not because they mean anything, because she remembers them from before. In a book, in a necklace, in a story. She draws them before breakfast, draws them again after sunset. And when she sleeps, she dreams of stars spinning just like the spirals. She tells her father one morning, "If the sky ever forgets where we are, the spirals will remind it." He doesn't correct her. Because she's right. On the crumbled roof of a stadium, a lone operator runs power through a salvaged antenna once every 10 days. The message is simple. If you hear this, we are real. If you don't, we are still real. There's no expectation of reply. That's not the point. The point is to stay reachable. Even when no one answers, especially then. In the hollowed center of what used to be Dallas, A collective known only as Echo House meets once a week beneath an open sky. No walls, just a circle. No fire, just stories. They sit, they listen, they speak, one at a time. And every person who speaks ends with the same sentence. This is what I've kept alive. It might be a song. It might be a name. It might be a recipe. It might be a warning. It might just be a feeling. Whatever it is, it becomes part of the record. The living one, the oral one, the one no storm or silence can erase. There's no central tower now, no station, no single point. We lost that long ago. But in its place, thousands of embers. Each one held in cupped hands. Each one waiting for dry wood and a second chance. If you're holding one now, if this story is in you, if the signal found you, then you know you're not the audience. You're the next broadcaster. And the mic? It's whatever you have left. A voice, a song, a mark on a wall, a memory passed over firelight. No one asked you to carry it. But here you are, and because of that, the story lives. The signal holds. The flame is still burning. By now, the towers are dust. The roads have grown over. Even the sky has changed. Less light, more silence. But the signal still moves. Because it was never about machines. It was about us. Our breath, our memory, our choice to speak when it would have been easier to stay quiet. A teenager in the overgrown ruins of what used to be Atlanta sits beside a rusted-out truck, a broken antenna lashed to a sapling. He doesn't know if it works. He doesn't care. Every night, he recites the names of the people who raised him. Some are gone. One is not. He hopes she hears. That's the kind of transmission you can't measure in watts. Only in hope per syllable. On the edge of the Pacific, where the ocean tries to forget the land ever existed, a woman has spent 10 years carving every story she's heard into driftwood. She stacks them like bones in a sculpture of a tree that never lived there. She calls it the root. People pass through, leave their own, add branches, tie cloth, sing to it when the sky is kind. Some leave without adding anything. They just sit. They don't need to build, just witness. In what's left of the Appalachian Trail, someone strings up cans filled with stones. They rattle when wind cuts through. A language only the cautious understand. Each rattle is a phrase. Each silence is a warning. And between the echoes, someone adds new threads, tin bells, feathers, keys. They don't speak, but their presence says, "You're being watched, and you're not alone." Further north, inside the skeleton of a ferry long since stranded on dry land, a small group hosts signal nights. Once a month, they gather in a circle with nothing but memories in their voices. One person speaks at a time. The rule is simple. Say what should not be forgotten. They pass it down like light from wick to wick. No one claps, no one judges. The only response is silence so still it becomes sacred. You've walked far to get here. Across ruin, across fear, across the crushing weight of forgetting. But now you know, this isn't the end of the story. Not by miles, not by centuries. It's just the edge of the page. And there's always another. Always one more voice. One more mark in the dust. One more person brave enough to carry something forward. And now that person is you. So write it, speak it, draw it, sing it into the sky if you have to. But do not let it die with you, because the world doesn't survive on power or plans or order. It survives on carriers. And you, silent, strong, scarred, are the last frequency still broadcasting, until the next one joins you. And they will, because someone always hears, and someone always answers. The page is ash, the wires are rust, but the story is still warm. And in the quiet that comes after everything is broken, a single sound remains. I'm here. A girl named Wren walks the frozen edge of what was once Lake Superior. She carries no map, only a cloth pouch full of pebbles, each marked with symbols in red ink. She places one wherever she rests, never two in the same place, never backtracking. She doesn't know who will find them. But she knows someone will, because that's how it's always worked. One step forward, one marker left, and a hand reaching, unseen, for whoever might be next. In the high desert, a man with no name digs shallow pits beside old radio towers. He buries things, batteries with hand-scrawled labels, seeds wrapped in wax paper, letters, some opened, some not, small radios sealed in plastic. He marks the ground with 3 stones and walks on. Some say he's gone mad. Others call him the last archivist. But it doesn't matter what name he wears. He's not doing it for credit. He's doing it because this is what we do. When the sky falls, when the old gods leave, when all we have is time and memory and each other, we bury hope like treasure and trust someone else will dig it up. A new voice came over the band today. Crackly, uncertain, young, sounded like a boy no older than 10. He read from a book, stumbled over the words, paused when the static got loud, and then, without warning, he laughed. Software real, like he forgot where he was, like the pages reminded him of a world that wasn't covered in dust. Then he said, "If anyone hears this, my name's Jamie. I'm reading so I don't forget how." Then silence. Not empty, just full of everything that matters. We used to think the world would end with a bang. But it didn't. It ended with people whispering to each other in the dark, refusing to forget. And now it begins again. One whisper at a time. You've heard the long story now. You've walked the long road. You've seen how a voice becomes a beacon, how a name becomes a flag, how a step becomes a trail. So, take what's been left here and go. Go make more light, more names, more ways forward. Because as long as one person speaks into the quiet, the world will never, ever end. No music cues, no applause, no dramatic fade-in. Just you, and the quiet, and the choice to fill it. You won't know who's listening. You won't know when. But you speak anyway. Because someone always comes looking. And when they do, whether tomorrow or in 100 winters, what you leave behind may be the only thing that reminds them the world once burned, but didn't disappear. So what do you say? You say what matters. You speak the names that never made it past the smoke. You describe the stars above your campfire, even if no one else sees them tonight. You tell the story of the bread you shared with a stranger who never said thank you, but left their gloves behind when they went. Just in case, you tell the truth, that it was hard, that it is hard, that some nights you wanted to walk into the dark and never turn back, but you didn't, and that matters. You're still here, and that alone is a message. You can speak it into a radio. You can write it on a wall. You can whisper it into a child's hair while they sleep. You can hum it under your breath as you rebuild what you can. Just don't let it die with you. That's the only rule now. Carry the signal, even when your hands shake, even when your voice cracks, even when there's no one answering back. Especially then, because that's when it matters most. So go ahead, take a breath, steady your voice, look out into whatever remains, and begin. Say the words no one else can say. Say them now. We're listening. We always were. You breathe in. The air is cold, still, dry. The world doesn't ask anything of you. It doesn't need you to be brave or loud or certain. It only needs you to begin. And so you do. Your voice is quieter than you expected. It doesn't echo. It doesn't boom. But it cuts through the silence like a thread through cloth. And that's all it ever needed to do. You say your name, or maybe you don't. You say, "It's morning here. I made tea. The fire stayed lit all night. I heard an owl just before dawn." You don't need a message. You are the message. Somewhere, across valleys you'll never walk, through forests you'll never name, a broken radio comes to life for the first time in years. A girl sleeping in the corner of a bunker stirs. Your voice cuts through the static, soft and cracked. She sits up. She listens. She smiles. Because now she knows. She's not the last. She's not the only. There is someone else. And maybe that's enough for one more day. This is how it starts now. No more towers. No more stations. No more emergency signals. Just one person talking. Another one listening. Then switching. Then multiplying. 1,000 quiet voices, scattered and invisible, but unbroken. You don't know how long this mic will work. You don't know how long you'll stay here. But for now, it's you, and the air, and the sound of life returning to the space where the world once stopped. You say, "I'll be here again tomorrow. Same time, same voice. If you're out there, stay warm. Stay moving, stay you." The girl across the valley whispers, "I will." And just like that, the next chapter begins. It starts small. One voice becomes two. Two becomes four. Not in cities, not in towers, but in clearings, in cabins, in shelters made from scavenged walls and scavenged hope, a mesh of breath and memory, stitched across what's left of the world. No logos, no leaders, no scripts, only people, only presence, only signal. Someone in the dry valleys hums lullabies between messages. Someone else taps poetry in Morse against a steel pipe under a collapsed bridge. A child in the tree line uses a flashlight and mirrors to blink out stories she barely remembers from before. They don't ask for reply. They only want to contribute. Because that's the new currency, not gold, not ammo. Offering, a name, a recipe, a story, something real. Something that cannot be taken, only shared. A boy named Jonah turns his signal west every night at sundown. He doesn't say much, just still breathing, still watching the clouds, still remembering your voice. And somewhere out there, someone whispers back into a dead radio. Me too. A woman who once studied stars now maps new constellations from what's left of the sky. She calls them by names no textbook ever held. The anchor, the lantern, the last dog, the bridge. She draws them in charcoal on scraps of wall, not to guide ships, to guide souls. So they remember that above all this ruin, the sky never stopped telling stories. We just forgot how to listen. Eventually, they call it what it is. The first network. No wires, no passwords, just voices. Drifting, singing, warning, reaching. A net made of survival and sound. And it holds. It holds. And when you speak, quietly, steadily, into whatever transmitter or pipe or wire you have left, the answer doesn't always come fast. But it does come. Always. Because somewhere, someone has been waiting for your voice. Not just anyone's. Yours. And now they know you're real. And now they'll keep going. And now they'll speak too. And just like that, the silence loses again. They never called it a broadcast. It didn't feel like a show. No scripts, no countdowns, no sponsor breaks. Just voices coming through. Different accents, different rhythms, different languages even. But all saying the same thing in their own way. I'm here. You're not alone. Let's keep going. It wasn't long before people stopped trying to speak for everyone. Instead, they spoke from themselves. And that made all the difference. Because no one needed perfection. They needed presence. Even broken words. Even static-covered songs. Even just breathing through the microphone. It all counted. It all reached. One man in what's left of Vancouver records silence on cassette tapes, then mails them. Just silence. With a note. Use this for your own voice, or listen. Maybe you'll hear mine underneath. They say when you press your ear to the tape at the right moment, you do hear something. Breath. And once, a laugh. A little girl in the ruins of Birmingham draws radio towers on scraps of cardboard. She strings yarn between them and hangs them on fences. They sway in the wind like wind chimes, and when people pass through, they add their own thread. Soon the fence is covered, a web of color and motion, a living signal. No words needed, just the shape of connection. In the salt flats of what used to be Utah, two old friends dig pits at night and light fires in them. Small, smokeless, timed. One flame every 10 minutes. No pattern. Just presence. One time, someone in the distance lit one back. Didn't say anything. Didn't come closer. Just answered. That was enough. The signal isn't just wires now. It's habit. It's ritual. It's what people do when the sun sets and the wind picks up. They light, they hum, they speak, they transmit. They don't know who's out there, but they trust someone is. Because they are. They must be. They always have been. You've become part of this. Not a listener. Not a guest. A thread. And as long as you keep moving, keep remembering, keep sharing, the weave holds. The dark doesn't win. Because the signal, our signal, isn't made of towers or wires. It's made of us.